Todd Barton here from the Barton Real Estate Group. Today we're going to talk about taking photos of your home when we sell it, or listing photos, and why hiring a professional photographer is important. Cell phones don't work. Let's get after it. All right, so hey, the Barton Real Estate Group, I'm Todd Barton. To my most far right would be Wally Hawkins. He's an agent on the team as well. And in the middle is Madi Barton, as she likes to be called. It's not her real name, but that's not the name I gave her. But she is my youngest daughter, and that is the name that she prefers. So we'll go with Madi Barton today. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
You don't want your real name?
No, that's okay.
Okay, good. All right, so hey, listen, what we're going to talk today a little bit about is photography of homes, about how we take pictures of homes, why we take professional photography, why we don't just use our iPhone or our iPad to take those pictures. And so the reason I have Wally and Madi here is because both of them, Wally, besides being a full-time real estate agent, is a professional photographer. I mean, that's right. I mean,
that was my background for the last 30 years.
30 years. Oh, you're old.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, I'm 32. No.
You're 32. Started when he was pretty young. Hey, but we do have this ongoing contest, by the way. If you can guess how old Wally is in the comments, you win a...
Be careful.
What do they get? Echo Dot or Google Nest, right? And so comment below. And by the way, don't forget to push the subscribe button there at the bottom, that little red button. Go ahead and push that so that when we upload a new video, you'll be the first one to get it. Because, you know, it's super interesting stuff, right? So we talk a lot about real estate. We talk a lot about what's going on out in the world, a little bit about how those things affect real estate and how those things may affect your next buy or your next purchase or whatever that looks like. So first, Wally, tell us a little bit about your photography background. I mean, 30 years, I think that's a pretty vague description. Like, tell them really who you are, because you're somebody.
I started shooting pictures as a kid and on Boy Scout campouts with a Kodak Instamatic, and I've just loved photography ever since then. That moved into shooting skateboarding, and then using a Super 8 movie camera to shoot skateboarding. Eventually, I started doing stunt work, fight scenes, and then that led me into working with cameras.
Not actually doing them, but shooting them.
No, doing them.
Oh, actually in them?
Yeah, I started out doing stunt work, but I made no money, so I had to do production.
Got it.
So that's when I got into camera work, and that was about 30-something years ago. And I started out at a production company in Las Vegas just as a gopher, meaning they'd bring me on a shoot and go, can you run over and get that cable? Can you run over and get that stand? And eventually I started to learn about cameras, about shooting, about sound, about lighting, and I never stopped.
Never stopped. And you tell us some of the places you've been to shoot. So not only have you done photography, but you're a videographer.
Well, I actually got kind of out of still photography, and I did videography or television for about the 30 years. About the last 10 or 12 years, kind of phased a little bit out of TV, been doing real estate.
Yep.
But the still photography is something I love, and I shoot professionally with that as well. And I'm out shooting actually more still photography these days than television, but I'm still doing both.
All right, can you tell us, like, in television, who did you work for?
I was fortunate enough. I worked my way. I started in news. I worked my way up to entertainment television, kind of shows like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, Extra E, those kind of things. And I ended up becoming one of the top photographers at Access Hollywood, to the point where I was the guy they'd send around the world. So I've been to 4 different Olympics to cover that. Sochi, Rio, Vancouver, Beijing. I've done at least 12 or more Super Bowls.
Wow.
Every award show, Emmys, Grammys, Oscars.
And you're still doing award shows. Like, you're still, even when those award shows come to Vegas, you're still doing
correct
those shows.
So
the red carpet, I guess they call it.
The red carpet, and then typically backstage, getting an interview when they come off the stage.
Yeah. So tell us about your 7-day trip. This is really fascinating to me. When I very first met you, you told me about this trip you went on. It took 7 days, right?
I did a shoot with Rihanna,
yeah,
the singer, And
this is still photo, right? Not video.
no, video.
Oh, it was video.
Yeah, television. And I was shooting for Access Hollywood.
But you weren't doing both.
No.
Right. Okay.
Well, I actually did have my still camera with me, though. Anyways, so she had an album coming out called 777. And her production company rented a 777 jet. They brought on a bunch of fans that won tickets to go on this tour. So it was going to be 7 concerts in 7 days in 7 continents or countries.
Countries, yeah.
Yeah. So we started off in LA and we flew to Mexico. This was a 24-hour-a-day job for 7 days. They did not rent me a room.
Never slept.
So we would land in a country. We would go to the venue. I would shoot the concert, backstage, whatever else. Then we'd race back to the airport, get on the plane, go to the next country, and repeat that and repeat that and repeat that.
So U.S., Mexico.
So I went to Mexico. From Mexico, we went to Europe. We went to England, France, Germany, Switzerland, I think. Came back to Canada, and from Canada to New York, and then New York back to LA.
Wow. 7 days.
I made so much money, I lost money.
I think you lost sleep would be my concern.
Well, once I got home, I did get sick, but I made it through. It's like mind over matter. I made it through that thing.
Done. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So your credentials for shooting video, for taking pictures is like beyond most people in the world, I would say.
Maybe.
You've shot all those. Like I've asked you 100 times, who's the most famous person you've ever interviewed, and your answer is always, I don't know. The list is a mile long. I've literally anybody and everybody.
Paul McCartney or Ringo Starr.
So those are your favorites because that's kind of back in your
Jimmy
era.
Page was my favorite.
Jimmy Page. Yeah. So, but
The
even
Jonas Brothers. You sent me a picture of the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah,
That was
that's not my favorite.
No.
That's my favorite.
So cool. So let's move on to Madi. So Madi, you're a photographer.
Yes.
It's what you do for a living.
Yes.
It's how you make your money.
Yep.
Tell us about that. How'd you get started? Why did you pick photography? Tell us about it.
Or did photography pick you?
I don't know if it was either of those. I had a cousin that had a camera that I borrowed for a little bit just to take pictures and have fun with my friends.
Shout out to Ina.
Yes. And then my grandpa had a camera and I
Shout out to G-Paw.
borrowed that for a long time.
Borrowed it.
He didn't use it anymore.
On the no return plan.
Yeah, and then I eventually purchased it.
Somebody purchased it.
Very
yes.
below market value. And then I just kind of took pictures of friends, and then taking pictures of friends turned into taking pictures of people I'd never met before, and they paid me to do it, and then
you were like, wow, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like I get paid to do this.
Yeah. And then it was families and couples, and then it was weddings and seniors, and it was all of that. And now I mostly do, I do a little bit of families still, and couples and weddings and elopements is my main stuff. And then I've started doing a little bit of like company and brand work here and there.
Cool.
You're having fun doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And you're making some money?
Yeah.
You just shot a wedding this last weekend?
I did.
Yeah. First time she ever came home from shooting a wedding
It's not
crying.
Yeah.
She
it's
was not
a
happy.
good day.
Wasn't a good day?
No, it was
What happened?
It was an Indian wedding, which was really cool. I'd never shot an Indian wedding, but it was they're usually like 3 days. I've never done one. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But they're usually like 3 days. They did all of the ceremonies in one day. So they did all of like the ceremonies and the traditional stuff in one long ceremony, and it was supposed to be like an hour and a half, ended up being like a little over 2 hours, and it was all outside during an excessive heat warning.
Yeah, so in Vegas this last weekend it was 110 to 115 depending on the time of day, and so you're stuck outside.
It was noon, yeah.
No shade.
The hottest time of the day. Yeah, and then
Sun's
this
straight
is
up.
my fault. I should have thought farther ahead, but it was all Indian food and it was all really spicy, and I'm pretty white and I don't eat really spicy stuff. So there wasn't much that I could eat, so then I was hungry and I was there for like 11 hours. I was hungry, and then every time I thought I'd have time to order food, I didn't have time to order food. So
I think the best part of the whole thing is it wasn't really even your wedding.
no, I was covering it for a friend of mine that's on maternity leave.
Yeah, she had a baby and suddenly couldn't do it, and then you got the call.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So, why do we talk about photography and real estate? So, what I really want to kind of talk about is, by the way, at the Barton Real Estate Group, if when we sell your home, we're only going to hire a professional photographer to take pictures. We're not going to come in with our cell phones. We're not going to come in with the old Instamatic that Wally used to shoot with back in the 70s, right? We're going to hire a professional because I believe that photos sell houses. I don't know if you think about it much, but anybody who's looking to buy a home, anyone who's looking to sell a home, all of those searches start online. We know that about 75% of all home purchases and home sales, that process for the buyers and the sellers all starts online. Like they're online looking at other properties. Anybody who's selling a home, they're thinking about where they're going to move to, right? So they're online looking at pictures of homes that they might move into. And when they find that house, that was what promotes them or provokes them, which however it works for them, to actually sell their house, right? So I believe that photography or pictures and how you present the home in the pictures has a big bearing on whether someone becomes interested in the property or not. And so it's always been a big deal to me to try to find someone that can shoot good quality pictures of homes. And so I asked Madi, almost called her by her real name, Madison, to shoot a house for me. And what'd you tell me?
I said I can do it, but they're not going to be great.
All right, so I can do it, but they're not going to turn out good. Well, my objective here was not that they didn't turn out great. I was looking for great photos, right? Why couldn't you? Tell me more about that. Like by the way, Wally, and I think he's demonstrated enough credit to why I have him shoot our pictures. By the way, it makes more sense to me as a father to hire my daughter and pay her than it does to hire Wally, though he somewhat is like my family and one of my very good friends. Quite honestly, I would probably rather pay my daughter, but it doesn't make sense to the fact because Wally does a lot of still photography, and that's kind of your specialty. Like 2 weekends ago, you drove hundreds of miles to take pictures of the Milky Way.
Yeah,
and I was like,
Why?
Was there something special about it? No, it's just the Milky Way. And but that's Wally's really good at and is professional when it comes to shooting still photography, and housing fits into that. Besides the fact you sell houses.
Besides the fact I get mad when I look online and I see toilet seats up and I see it lines crooked and I can tell it's not even a good cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't understand why sellers who hire an agent let them do that. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh? I mean, it just
pet
doesn't.
Peeve.
Toilet seats up is one of my big pet peeves as well. I just like, for me actually, why do we even take a picture of the bathroom? Like the little people take pictures of the water closets. That's a sink and a toilet. Everybody knows what that looks like. Why do we need that picture, first of all? And then they don't even take the time to lower the toilet seat. It drives me crazy.
I hate crooked blinds.
Crooked blinds?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Like when they're like pulled up, but they're like one side's a little higher and they don't fix it.
Yeah. So by the way, I think it's important to point out that little things like that are what they call the eye of the photographer, right? Wally, you've said to me when she started taking pictures, you said to me several times, she really has an eye for taking this kind of photography. And you do, what do you call it? You do people, lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're a lifestyle photographer.
Yeah.
So you do elopements, you do weddings, you do, what do they call it? Engagement photos, baby photos. Not a lot of babies, but some babies.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Families.
So, but she has an eye for that kind of photography, and you have an eye for still. Some of the still stuff. Landscape. Sorry, wrong terminology. But some of the landscape stuff that you've taken is in my mind just literally mind blowing.
Thank you.
Seriously, I look at it and go, man, not only is the picture a good setup or however you guys call that, but
composition.
I'm learning a few things today. But then the colors and you call that pumping up the colors or toning them
I
down.
don't really want to share that with the world.
Sorry. But Madison, you have that with weddings. People hire you specifically because they like the look of your picture, and you edit differently than maybe another photographer does. Yeah, so you have a style. Yeah. So there's a style for houses too, right? There's certain things.
I think there is. Now that I've been shooting houses for several years, I can look back on some of my pictures and go, oh, because I think I have progressed and I have learned and gotten better through the years. I've actually changed an app on my phone different than what it was several years ago, which I think makes the pictures look better now than they used to.
So it does.
So, and there's a couple of other things that I found on my site on Lightroom, which is where I edit. There was a couple of things I wasn't aware of that I found that helped the pictures as well, specifically to what we're talking about.
Transform tool?
No.
Oh, I love the transform tool. Makes all
Do
your
you
lines
use Lightroom
straight.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good app or a good software to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, for editing.
Yeah.
Classic, Lightroom Classic, not the new Lightroom.
Yeah,
Don't mess with that new Lightroom. Right,
I have both, but yeah.
I don't like the new one.
She doesn't like change very much either, so it might be good, but she just can't deal with it.
Well, actually, the new Lightroom came out before I started taking pictures.
Oh,
so
you've
both were original to me.
You've gone back even way back there.
Old school.
Got it. All right, so I think it's important to point out that certain photographers have an eye for certain things, and if you're hiring someone to do photography of any kind, you should find somebody who does that. And by the way, where can people look at where can they see some of your work?
I have a website, wallyhawkins.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the comments so that you guys can go down there and click on that.
And also Instagram.
So what's your Instagram handle?
Wally_Hawkins_photo.
We'll put that. That's a lot. We'll put that down there as well. And then Maddie, where do they see your stuff?
I have a website. It's madisonbartonphotography.com, and then my Instagram is madisonbarton.photography.
Wow, lots of dots and underscores and all that.
Letters.
So hey, we'll put all that stuff down. So if you want to take a look at some of their work, Wally, you actually have some of your stuff on display right now.
I do.
So what do they call that? It's not an art show, but it's a
Gallery.
So we're based in the district.
In Henderson.
Yeah,
so the district is a shopping mall here in Henderson, and in that shopping mall, you can see it behind us, by the way.
Yeah, that's actually the district behind us, and there's several restaurants, and one of them called Rachel's said I could hang half a dozen photos on their wall.
And they're there.
And they're there. And
we go eat there once a week just so we can make sure that they're
sure they're still hanging.
Yeah, make sure they're not landing on top of somebody or.
Yeah.
So you've got your stuff. So at Rachel's Kitchen at the district right now, Wally has got what do they call that though? It's not a showing. It's a.
They're up for viewing.
They're out for viewing.
Yeah, we can go with that.
A showcase.
Yeah, all of those work.
Lots of things.
They're hanging on a wall at Rachel's Kitchen, and you can go look at them. And so,
while you grab some great food.
And then, by the way, yeah, the food's decent. It's good there. I shouldn't say decent. The food is good there. The other thing you have that we should tell them about is your book.
During COVID lockdown, I wasn't a person that could lock down. So
I broke every possible COVID rule by traveling outside of.
Well, I would argue that I didn't because there was no one else out there.
True.
He was
So I was by myself. I would go down to the strip every day and shoot pictures of the vacant strip and come home and edit them and then post them the next day. And the interesting thing was I kept doing this and kept doing it while everybody else stayed locked down. And they started to get used to seeing those pictures because I'd post the same time every morning. And then they were seeing things that they had never seen before. And
I've lived here my whole life, and I've never been in a situation where the strip was ever empty. Right? That's never been a thing. Even when they close it down for New Year's, there's 300,000 people walking down the street. So yeah, it was very, very unusual.
And people they were relying on those pictures to see what was happening. And then they started asking me, are you going to go capture this? Are you going to go capture that? To the point where back then there was a comet coming into town. Neo wasn't coming into town. There was a comet that was...
A comet, like out of the sky.
Yeah, Neowise was the name of it. And people were asking me, are you going to go capture that? And it got to the point to where they actually sent me coordinates so I could go capture that,
Oh, really?
shoot it, edit it, and post it so they could see it.
So you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the way, he's taken all these pictures and documented what the COVID lockdown in Las Vegas looked like, with pictures on the Strip, pictures of different hotels,
The
and
Arts District
and
downtown.
the signs they had up, and
Yeah.
it's actually a great book. By the way, we'll put that in the. There's
It's like a coffee
It's a
table book.
coffee
Yeah,
table
coffee
picture
table.
book, and it's historical, actually.
and they can buy it on Amazon.
No, not
No,
on Amazon.
not on Amazon.
Through my website.
Okay, and so we can post that.
Yeah.
Like tell them where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's
Well,
a great
actually, my
book.
Facebook page, actually, so you can message me. It's all
Okay.
of that,
But you can get a hold of it. Just give
but
it.
not on Amazon.
Not on
Not on
Amazon.
Amazon. Don't go
So,
looking.
by the way, I have the original book.
You do.
Yeah, signed by you. When you very first showed it to me, I said I want this original copy, and it changed a couple of times, and so I've actually got 4 or 5 of
Do
those
you?
books. Yeah, that
We have a couple
every
of
time there
versions.
was a revision, yeah, I was able to get those.
Yeah, it
So,
took me probably over a year and a half to get to the final.
Yeah, and it's a great book.
Thank you.
It's a great book. So,
Thanks.
so listen, the Barton Real Estate Group, we're happy to give you some advice on photography if you need for your house. If you're looking for a wedding or an elopement, or you're having a baby or whatever else, the things that Madi does, check out her stuff on Instagram. That's really the best place to look, right? Or
Yeah.
your website, Instagram.
Both are good, but my Instagram is more up to date usually.
Okay, and same with Wally, Instagram and website.
Website.
Some good stuff there. And don't forget to subscribe down below, and we look forward to helping you buy or sell a house in the future.